Hi friends, it's Sarah, the owner and maker behind Multifarious Nature. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're a new viewer, welcome. And if you're a returning viewer, big welcome back. I'm glad you guys are here for another episode. And we will dive into it. I am feeling so much better. If you've been with me for a little while here, past 2 episodes, I have been battling a cold. I still apparently have some post-nasal drip going on, but that's just because of the weather. I am so much better. As of last Friday, I have been better. No more creepy stuff going on in this region. So incredibly grateful that I am not only feeling better, sounding better, I am over the cold. It's just like the post-nasal drip, I think, because of the cold. We have a lot, like really cold weather right now, so I think that has a lot to do with it. But, so I'm going to hopefully sound a lot better. Hopefully I won't have to clear my throat as much, and I certainly shouldn't be coughing, but if I have to, it's just because of the weather, and I'm going to do my very best. I changed my lighting slightly, so you may see, I'm not really good with the whole lighting thing. I do not edit my videos, and so it may come in and out a little bit, but my hope is that you'll be able to see the colors truer and hear me better, because I'm not going to have to probably back away from, I'm hoping, I won't have to back away from the computer as much when I use my computer to record. And I normally, to show the colors, I kind of have to sit back so it doesn't blast out the color, but I think this will work. I have the lighting differently, so I'm hoping. I hope you guys have a cozy beverage. I have, I think it's Twinglings or Twinglings brand. It's a, one of my absolute favorites. It's like Lemon Lift. It might not be Twinglings. You know what? I don't have it in there anymore. I had it seeping, but I'm trying to think of the name. But it's called Lemon Lift, and it's a black tea, but it's decaf, and it has lemon flavor. It's really, really good, and it's one of my favorites, especially if I'm sick. But when I'm healthy, it's good too. It's just refreshing. So it's nice and hot and wonderful. So I hope you have something cozy, because it's chilly here. I think it was a whopping 22 degrees Fahrenheit here, and I think it's going to drop down to a whopping 16 degrees tonight. And then tomorrow is when we're actually going to reach the negative digits. I think tomorrow night we're supposed to hit -1, which is cold. I have definitely dealt with colder in Illinois. I grew up in Illinois, and so it definitely gets colder there, but it's been pretty chilly here, and we have animals, so that's been tricky. But I will get into the normal kind of show end of things. We'll talk about life update at the end here. I'm going to go off the cuff, so I apologize if I forget things, if it gets kind of crazy, sporadic, but I'm just trying to get this fit in here. After I got home, I did my chores, and I'm trying to, well, some of my chores, and I'm trying to do my recording here after being outside, so hence why I'm kind of sniffly. I just watered, got the birds watered, so I got their water filled up, collected the eggs. That's usually what I do when I get home from work, and now I want to record. So I'm actually recording on Thursday like I'd like to do, and that way hopefully I'll get this uploaded by Friday. That's always the goal, but it's been tricky lately. I don't know if it's the weather, people working from home more. We've had terrible weather. Yeah, really nasty weather. A lot of schools been closed most of this week, and I think a lot of people are working from home and stuff, including last week, at the end of last week. So I wonder if that's partially why I had some struggles with my uploading. So hopefully this is going to come up on Friday, the 19th, I hope. As far as shop update, I do not currently have any new dyeing scheduled, but I do want to do some dyeing. So I'm going to be getting an order in for some more bases, and I'd like to do some dyeing, and I would love to pick your brain. So I'm actually going to do a poll also on YouTube, just like a poll, but I would love to ask you guys as well, since you're listening to the video. I'd love to hear your ideas. So my first question would be, if there's any colors in the shop that you absolutely love and you would like to see a sweater's quantity dyed up and ready to ship, yeah, please let me know. Please let me know in the comments if there's a certain colorway that you would just love to see a sweater's quantity dyed up. I will get that prepared and added shipped to the shop. So that's my first question. And then the other question would be if there's any colors that you haven't seen in the shop, but you are really intrigued, you would love to see, or something similar to. One, I will just preface this by saying I do not replicate other dyers' colorways. So if there's a colorway that you really like and you're like, I'd love you to dye this, I won't do that. I do not try to copy other dyers. But if there's like a picture of something, I don't know, some item that intrigues you and you'd love to see it dyed up, then that's what I'm talking about. So, for example, if you need an idea of what I'm talking about, if you go to my advents on multifariousnature.com, the advents have photos that are inspiration for colorways. So sometimes it's the theme, it's a photo that is inspiration for the theme. But so this past year, it was photos that I used for inspiration for the colorways. And then the year prior to that, I did like one photo that was inspiration for the feel of the entire advent. And then the year prior to that was the Upper Peninsula, and so I actually did use like photos also as inspiration for those colorways. So that might give you kind of an idea of what I'm talking about. So yeah, if there's anything that you would love to see turned into a colorway, I am extremely interested in hearing what you have to say and getting feedback from you. That's important to me. So definitely let me know. I would love to hear from you. And I will also put up a poll asking about that as well. So anyway, so keep an eye out for that poll. So with whips that I've been doing, I did work on a couple different ones, primarily my advents, of course. I have to keep working on my advents. I quite enjoy doing so. So I will first talk about my Multifarious Nature one that I've been working on, which is for my Multifarious Nature 2023 Advent. They were sock sets. This is the second sock set, and it's called Turkish Delight is the sock pattern I'm working on, and that is by Paper Daisy Creations, and I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it. So I cannot quite remember where I was at with you guys last time because my little stitch marker that I have on here, which is from Lock and Loo, so adorable. It's this little, isn't it so cute? Absolutely beautiful. She has the most beautiful stitch markers. So I have that, and it's keeping track of my repeat. So I do it at the beginning of the repeat. So I keep moving it. So I'm not quite sure where I was last week, but I think it was somewhere around here. I think. Could be wrong. It could have been further. But I have now progressed to the heel, which is excellent. So now we have a toe with this wonderful little color work section right here. And these are the colorways for the second sock set of the Advent. There's this beautiful golden color, and then this super fun speckled colorway. It's very cozy. It's a dark brown, and then there's speckles of colors in there. It's slightly tricky to see, but there's some red, there's some deep brown speckles, some deep navy speckles, and some deep green speckles throughout. It's primarily a brown tonal, but definitely a speckled colorway. Heavily speckled. They're just really nice, deep speckles. You can really see it, I feel like, on the back, on the bottom of the foot. You really appreciate the speckling on there, and I just absolutely love it. So it's hard for me to pick a favorite with these colorways, these sock sets. I love them so much, and I'm just really enjoying it. I'm currently wearing my first sock set. This is going to be the most awkward way of putting my foot, my dirtied sock. I wore that in my boots. So I will definitely, when I reknit this, because I'm sure I will reknit this pattern again, the Ridgeline boot socks, I definitely would go down a size, which is interesting because I knit to the size recommended based off the width of the front of my foot, but I'm realizing I have a wide front and a pretty narrow back to my foot, and I do think that I should have gone down a size. Just my learning curve. So I'm definitely going to go down a size. I don't know if that would be something that you would want to do if you do the ridgeline boot socks, but I find that I'm going to probably want to go down a size for the actual width of the sock. The length is actually, the length is a little loose too. So I just went to town knitting those, and I really should have been more cognizant of trying them on and such, but I just wanted to get them done because I was having fun knitting on them. Okay, back to this one. So the Turkish Delight. This is a really interesting heel. It's a turned heel, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very unique. It uses German short rows. I'm not going to obviously give too much away, but it's a very unique heel. It's unique compared to any heel I've ever done. I primarily do top-down socks. So this was a unique aspect because it's toe up. So this is another toe up sock, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm just really enjoying it. This pattern itself is very relaxing. It's very easy to follow, not hard at all. I do find that I do kind of mark where I'm at in the repeat, but it's a really easy repeat for the most part. It's just trying to keep track of like which section you're on is kind of important. That's why I'm using the stitch marker to show my first round of the repeat, and that helped so much. So I highly recommend doing that if you're going to do the sock, is use a progress keeper to show your first row. And then, like I said, the heel, it has this just beautiful definition here in these different areas where the heel turn is, and like the short row, and I mean, it's just beautiful. So I just finished the contrast color for the heel, and now I'm going to start working in the round for the sock. So, funny story about this. I do not know when this happened. I do not know where I went wrong. But somewhere on the heel here, I ended up not knitting, like when I got to the contrast color, I just didn't knit enough of the contrast color, I think. So I was 2 stitches short when I got to this part. However, like the amount that I'm trying not to give away too much because I did pay for the pattern, but well, I think I got a discount or something, but between, like, there's a certain portion that you do not work, and you're supposed to work down, like decrease down to a certain portion, and I did that. But then when I counted all of the stitches across, including the ones that I did a certain thing to, I was 2 stitches short. I had the correct amount for the size down, but I did not have the correct amount for the size I'm knitting. So I have no idea what happened, but that's okay because this portion I counted and this whole area was all correct. And this is the widest part of my foot. This is the narrowest part. So if it's a little bit smaller, I might actually make a pair of socks that fit me really well. Completely by accident. I have no idea. So I'm going to, my ankle's pretty narrow, but then I have a calf. I have a decent sized calf. So I feel like I'm going to have to probably pick up the 2 stitches or something on the side just to make sure I have the correct circumference going up the leg. But yeah, I definitely am enjoying it. I so far would recommend this pattern if you're looking for a fun color work. It's wonderful, especially if you have a speckled or variegated colorway. I feel like this really helps it shine. It adds a nice little texture on here, but it really allows that color work to shine. Color work, the color of the sock, like the yarn. My word. Okay. So that is the Turkish Delight. The other one I'm working on that is my other advent, which was the Woolberry Winter Box, which is my Christmas advent. I'm almost done with it, but I got to a point this week where, as I mentioned, the weather's been insane. It's just been stressful when it comes to weather and everything. So I really needed potato chip knitting that does not take a lot of thought. And I'm to the point where I kind of have to switch out needles, and apparently that was just too much for me. I am to the point where I'm going to have to switch to a smaller needle to do the ribbing, which I can't remember if I told you guys this, but funny story, I did not decrease to the right needle size. I went a size up from what I'm supposed to. There's no excuse. Actually, I'm probably 2 sizes up from what I'm supposed to, because I went based on the millimeter size, but when I looked at it, I didn't see millimeter. I just saw that was the size needle. It was wrong. It was totally wrong. So, yeah, there we go. You know, it happens. It happens. I think the ribbing's still fine. Clearly, there's probably more yarn involved because it's a larger ribbing, but I think it'll be okay. I'm not terribly concerned. My colorways are definitely getting used, that's for sure, for this. So, as I mentioned, these are Woolberry colorways. This was a beautiful winter box. Look at that fade. Isn't that beautiful? She did such a nice job. So I absolutely love this. I will happily wear this sweater. It's really a unique colors. These colors are unique. They're not something that I normally always throw on, but I love purples and I like greens. So I'm really excited about this. I think this is very flattering, and I just love how it transitions from one color to the next. I think it's absolutely beautiful fade. This is definitely a more extreme fade, so it's not quite as subtle. I think this was beautifully subtly faded from the top to this light violet or lilac colorway. Once we get into this darker green, which is still quite beautiful, I think it's a little bit more of an extreme fade, but I like it still. Nonetheless, I do like it a lot. I really like this green. I do kind of wish this was at the top. However, I think when you do sweaters like this, I'm a big fan of the lighter at the top, working your way down to the dark. I think it looks flattering. It grounds it. I just feel like it makes visual sense to have the dark at the bottom. It's the heaviest looking color. To have that at the bottom really works. So I do think as a gradient, she did do a beautiful job. So I'm very, very pleased by this. The pattern that I'm doing is Sarah Opie's pattern, and it's called the, hold that pot, I wrote it down. I knew it was the Resource Raglan is the base of it, but it's the foundation fade. So the Resource Raglan is like her textbook, how to create your own custom raglan, and then the foundation fade is actually a pattern she created from the foundation, from the Resource Raglan, and it does a fade. So, love it. Absolutely love it. Very pleased with this, if you can't tell. So I think I was somewhere around here last week. I forgot to move this, I think. I think I was somewhere around here last week, or down here. I cannot remember. Hold me accountable, you guys. I might have even been on the sleeve. Honestly, I think I was on the sleeve last week. I was, wasn't I? I was. Oops. Anyway, so just kidding. I was on the sleeve somewhere. I think I had just got into the sleeve, and I just keep going with it. And it goes really quickly. It's a nice small circumference, so it does go very quickly. And I am staying true to how the pattern is telling me to knit it, which I think is going to be a decent length. I think it will be good. So I just have to switch to the smaller needle. I just have to bite the bullet, do it. I think I'm debating whether I want to actually switch to the proper needle size for the cuffs. I might do that because I'm pretty positive this is the correct size that I did on the top. And with the bottom, I don't think that that's a huge deal. Yes, this is a bigger than this, but I don't think it visually is a big deal because it's so far from each other. But I do wonder if the cuff should be the correct needle size, just so it fits your wrist nicely. It's going to be a little baggy from what I've been seeing in the photos, and if I use a bigger needle, it's going to be even baggier, and I am not a huge fan. These are baggy. This is baggy. it does come basically to my wrist. This is probably one of the baggiest sweaters that I do wear a lot, and it's extremely durable. This is an Irish sweater. Apparently it was made in Ireland based on what the tag says. It is something that my mother purchased for me from a thrift store, which I love, and I wear it a lot. This is like my go-to sweater when I have to hike outside and get stuff done with the chickens and everything. It's probably, I mean, this is a workhorse yarn. If I was to say, I don't know if it's Shetland, but I would say it's a lot like a Shetland. It's a really durable, it has a little bit of pilling, but very little. This is definitely like your workhorse sweater. So like this, I don't mind necessarily if these kind of slightly dip down and stuff, because it's quite water resistant. So if I'm washing dishes and things like that, it kind of pills, the water pills on top and just falls off. It does not get saturated, where superwash does. This is superwash. So I definitely want to make sure these sleeves are not insanely long, and if they are long, I do not want them to be really loose. So I'm going to have to probably do the correct needle size for that. I think I'm just going to have to figure it out. If I have to steal it from another project, I may have to do that just so I can do it properly. But that's the only thing that was holding me up on this. I just apparently could not figure out the let's switch needles. Primarily, I didn't have a lot of time to knit this week, and so I really just wanted to work on projects I could just knit and not have to think about it. And this one, I'd have to figure out where the needles are and be a whole thing, so I didn't do it. But there you go. There's my excuse. I also did work on a project I haven't worked on in a while, and you guys will recognize it, and it's an ongoing long-term project. And this is using Multifarious Nature yarn, my hand-dyed yarn. And it is the half and half triangles wrap. I am mid-row, per usual, so this is going to look weird as all get out. But I am on my second colorway still, of course, and I am just working away on it. Technically, this progress keeper should be moved somewhere up here, I think, is where I started. So I am actually going to move that right now, just so I can keep myself held accountable, because I've been working on it a bit this week, though, so I do want to hold myself accountable. And it doesn't have to be exact where I put my progress keeper, but it just helps keep you motivated, especially when you're working on projects like this that are really big long-term projects. So this is a progress keeper by Hello, Lavender. She made this beautiful, beautiful one. Another little white flower with the yellow center. But yeah, I am cruising along on this. So if you're curious what these colorways are, this is my Kismet colorway, which I do currently have dyed up in the shop. Super cozy. It's a peachy color. This is a tricky color apparently for when it's dark outside trying to record, because it's making me look really odd. So it's a peachy colorway primarily, a nice peachy color with some really fun speckles. Got some salmony speckles, some peachy speckles. There's some like lavender speckles. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a super fun speckle. So this would make really fun socks as well. I definitely think this would make a beautiful sweater if you wanted an all-over speckle sweater. I think this would be really pretty. So I think this is a super versatile colorway. This is also on my alpaca merino base. It is primarily merino, so it's a 20-60-20. So 20% super fine alpaca, and then there's 60% superwash merino and 20% nylon in there. So it's super soft, very durable, and it's one of my favorite bases if you want a really warm base. I feel like that's super nice, as well as my Peruvian Highland wool base. Those are excellent for warm bases. I have quite a few colorways dyed up on the Peruvian Highland wool. It is definitely one of my favorites. If you want something squishy, soft, and great for cabling and all that. And then this one is my, it's a BFL nylon base. So this is, I think it's 75% BFL. I think it's superwash BFL. And then 25% nylon. And this is Strawberry Shortcake. I do not currently have this dyed up in the shop. So this would be a perfect example of a colorway that maybe you see is sold out and you would love to see more dyed up in the shop. Please let me know. I am a very small business, so I try to dye up colorways that, you know, someone may be interested in purchasing, and especially if it's a custom order, I of course dye up for you. But you know, if you're interested in buying like even a socks quantity of something, so just 1 skein, 2 skein, if you want to do something like that, definitely let me know because I would very happily do that. In case you're curious, this is that Half and Half Triangles wrap by Pearl Soho, free pattern. Yes, I'm late to the game, I know, but I can understand the enjoyment in that. I love this. Every time I work on it, it's so relaxing. This has been my go-to, like I said, this week as something relaxing to work on. Other than those socks, I worked on those too. But I really worked on this quite a bit. It's just wonderful. As I said, I worked on it quite a bit, but I did not make a lot of progress when you think of like, really think of grand scheme of things. But it takes 3 skeins of each colorway, and that's whether you're doing the big size or the bigger. I'm doing the bigger because I wanted it to be a blanket. So I'm going to use this as, you can use it as a shawl as well, but because it is a shawl, but I'm actually really primarily doing it as just a cozy blanket. I think it's super fun and will make me smile every time I see it. But you can definitely obviously wear it as a shawl as well, but it takes up 6 skeins of yarn total. You want to do 2 contrasting colors or complementing colors because you'll fold them all over each other and they will kind of show as it's wrapped. So that's why I thought it would be super fun to mix it up and do a speckle. I do not know why I don't see more speckle colorways in this Half and Half Triangles wrap. I think it would be excellent to do that. It's a really fun way to show, of course, your tonals, which is what my Strawberry Shortcake is. But I just think having that speckle colorway, I just think this is so fun as a contrast. And when it's wrapped, I just think that's beautiful. Really fun layering. And it's a great way to use up some fun speckled colorways that you're just not sure what to do with. If you have at least 3 of them, I think it's a beautiful way. So do a nice contrast. And I have some examples on Instagram. I think I just put them on Instagram. I've talked about it in other videos too. But definitely on Instagram, I had some examples. If you kind of go back in my feed, if you go to my Instagram, and it's Multifarious Nature on Instagram. If you go on there and look back, you'll see there are some examples in a reel, and I think I took photos as well, showing like some different pairings of some of the Multifarious Nature colorways together to show you like you can really have a lot of fun doing some even variegated, anything like that. Speckles, of course, and tonals is kind of like the go-to, but I really think that speckles made it just that much more enjoyable and potato chippy to keep knitting on. So it is a garter stitch, so that's just knitting, which is so much fun. And I did the German short row style of, instead of the wrap and turns at the center. So absolutely love it. So much fun. So I highly recommend this pattern, and just cruising along on it. So I just figured if I'm going to be using 3 skeins of yarn, no matter what, I'm going to do the biggest size because I want to use the most of each colorway. All right, so now I've got through all the project I'm working on. Actually, I did technically work on my healing blanket, which is actually the Incredible Blanket by Pearl Soho. I did work on that a little bit. Do you guys want to see it? Okay, it's right in front of me. I just have to grab it. Bear with me a moment. As I reach and try not to drop my stitches. Okay. So, last time I showed this, I was a couple rows back. This is a lot of stitches. It's well over 300 stitches. I would tell you the exact amount, but I don't know, and I don't want to have to look it up, but it's really easy. It looks complicated, It is technically like a half fisherman's rib almost type pattern. So it's really unique. You can kind of do whatever you want. It's definitely designed for the 40 color linen and quill mini pack that they sell, but you can do what I did, where I literally just got enough yardage of yarn. I got, I think, 7 different colorways, 7 or 8, and all I'm doing is just reaching in. I separated them by cooler colors and warmer colors, and if you're not familiar with that, I definitely recommend looking that up. But you know, there's certain colors that just are warmer, and there's cooler colors. So for example, this really pretty fiery orange red color that I have in here, it's kind of salmony orange red. That's a warm color. And then you know, you make your way to, let's say, it's harder to see because apparently all my cool colors are in the background. It was not intentional, but like these grays, these blue grays, and all that, that is a cooler color. So those, I'm just, like I said, I'm randomly picking one from each, and then I knit with it, and then I put them all back in the bag once I've knit all the colors from each bag. And so it's random, it's not identical repeats, it's just going to kind of have cohesiveness because the colors are all being used repetitively throughout the pattern. So it's really fun. I love the colors. This is all Mono Stelt Uruguay. Primarily it's a merino silk blend. I cannot remember the actual name of it. Sorry about that. But you'll see this insanity on the back. So you're actually weaving in the ends as you go, so you don't have to weave them in at the end. So really all I have to do is just trim this. I just haven't done that. I was just going to wait till the end to do that. But pretty much you go back and forth, and then you cut or break. You can break it. Oh boy, I'm going to drop my stitches. It's slippery. Then you just break it, and then you pick your next color, and then you go back and forth with the next color, and then keep switching. So it's a really fun way to keep changing color, but it doesn't happen that fast because you've got well over 600 stitches before you change your color. It's fun. My palette, I chose colors that really spoke to me, and then it's funny because it just feels very much like the 80s to me for some reason, like 70s and 80s, the colors. It's extremely comforting to me, and that's the whole point. If you're not familiar, I have been going through a lot over the past couple of years, and this is just it is literally a healing thing for me. Knitting has been extremely healing for me, and that's what this blanket is about for me. I know it's going to take me a while to complete, but I am enjoying every single stitch on this, and I try to do a little bit each day if I can, and I just absolutely love it. So I highly recommend this pattern if you're looking for a fun blanket. This is a blanket. It's a larger than a normal throw blanket, so a lot of throws tend to be on the small size. This is going to be a larger throw, which I'm excited about. Of course, that means it'll take a while to do, and it takes quite a bit of yardage, but I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I need it. I actually do feel like I need that blanket in my life. So that's just a really fun project that is probably going to take me a heck of a lot longer than this half and half triangles wrap, but I'm all for it. It's been a lot of fun to work on, and healing, very healing to work on. So what else have I been doing? I've been, I know I mentioned last week, I've been exercising more, which is excellent. I've been feeling better because of that, that's for sure. That's helped. Eating more fish, trying to eat more fish again. It's good for vitamin D, so I've been doing that. I've mentioned in the past I have vitamin D deficiency, like many that live in the northern part, especially in Michigan. Michigan is notorious for being very dark in the winter. So I, greatly appreciate getting that exercise. Has made me feel really good, and then eating healthy with like getting vitamin D rich foods in my life and my diet. That is very good. And these are things that I knew. but I just didn't make it a priority, and I'm really glad I'm trying to make it more of a priority because I feel really good. So that is really good. As far as other things, like I said, we got a storm, so we'll get a life update. End of things, we've had a lot of snow. How are you guys doing? Did you get a lot of snow? Are you buried? Did you get buried? Are you icy? Like, where are you at in the world? Definitely share where you're from in the comments below. Most especially if you're new. I mean, I'd love to hear no matter what. But if you're brand new, definitely introduce yourself and say hi, and let me know where you're from. I'm from the West Michigan area, and we got hit hard with that winter storm that came through here this past week. We are still going to get more snow. We're going to get at least another inch or so. I think 3 inches tomorrow, inch tonight, I think 3 inches tomorrow, and then we might get another couple inches over the weekend, which is not a big deal, but we got hit really hard. We had received about 2 feet of snow last weekend. I definitely think it was 2 feet of snow. We have some massive snow drifting going on too, and I'm so grateful for our plow person who comes and plows our driveway, because that helped so much. Unfortunately, he had plowed after the first big dump of snow, and then there was a bunch of drifting, and it completely put another foot of snow in our driveway again, so that was brutal. But he came and plowed again, so grateful for him. And yeah, it was a lot of physical. That was a lot. That was my exercise this past week, was shoveling, shoveling out our walkways and part of our driveway. That was a lot of work, but good exercise. Also, hiking down to give the chickens, like I said, water. So at the moment, I have to carry water down to the chickens because the water they have is slightly frozen. We have heat tapes on it, but apparently when it gets super, super cold, it can still form ice in a little area, and then that, unfortunately, causes issues because then the water can't make it from the one container to the container for the birds. So each day we have to lug down at least a gallon of water, and I've been doing that. And so I lug that down and hike through the snow. I've now made a path, which is great. I had a path made earlier in the week, and then with drifting, I had to remake a path through a good 2 feet of snow in areas. So that was intense. So hiking down through that, and then back, our house is up a hill from the chickens, so I had to hike back up the hill. And I tell you what, that is a workout. I come in and I'm like, whew, I feel like I did something. I do. So that is really good. But that's been my exercise so far when it comes to the birds and doing the chores, like I said. But I hope you guys are doing well, and definitely let me know how you're doing with that storm, if it's really cold by you, if you're getting hit with more ice than snow. I hear everybody's getting hit with snow at one point or another. It sounds like, at least the United States. We have definitely gotten our fair share of snow this past week, and I do enjoy the snow when it comes to staying home, but having to go to work, it's like, ugh. Grateful for an all-wheel drive vehicle. I have an all-wheel drive, and I am so grateful for it. I have not always had an all-wheel drive vehicle, so for those of you that have a front-wheel drive and you're dealing with this, I empathize for you. I feel for you. I understand. I did, at least 7 years, I think. How long did I have that little car for? I'm trying to think here. Because I lived in Michigan for 5 years without all-wheel drive, and those were intense years. But I did, I think, at least 2 years. I had that vehicle, I think, 2 years before I moved to Michigan. I think it was 2 years. So yeah, I'd say at least 6 or 7 years with the front-wheel drive that I owned. And then I guess actually the vehicles prior to that all had front-wheel drive, and I was living in Chicago area. But that's different. It's very different to have to drive in the snow and everything, and you can go 25 miles per hour because that is the speed limit when the speed limit in Michigan on the highway and the country roads is 55 up to 70 miles per hour on the highway. That's a big difference when you've got bad weather. So all-wheel drive, if you can afford to get all-wheel drive, I highly recommend it. I will never go back to front-wheel drive. I just won't. I will not. I will not. So, yes. I still to this day, actually at the moment, I do not have a shovel in my vehicle, but prior to that, I had a really hard time not having a shovel in my vehicle just because with my I had a Hyundai Accent hatchback, and that little thing would slide off the road all the time. So I used my shovel often. So, just saying. I feel like I earned my all-wheel drive, that's for sure. But I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're staying warm and safe and cozy, and I hope you are staying healthy. If you got hit with this nasty cold that's been going around, I hope you are getting through it quickly, and I hope you will watch. If you are suffering from a cold right now, definitely please watch my last couple of videos. I have some pointers. They're obviously not cure-alls, but they definitely made my life more bearable, because if I hadn't used the Neti Pot, I don't think I would have been able to breathe out of my nose, and I think I would have been a lot more miserable. So they're my little tips for getting through a cold, and lots of tea with lemon and honey. I definitely recommend that. And ginger. Definitely recommend ginger as well. So, wishing you guys the very best. Take care of yourself. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Take care.